I have not, nor have I ever been lazy a day in my life. I used to have reference letters from the bank or the transit supervisor, bank managers, former corporals in the RCMP, and guys that taught jiu-jitsu in Kelowna. I'm not. I have never been lazy a day in my life. My biggest problem before is my emotions weren't regulated. A lot of other shit happened that I'm not going to get into. But when I came into the woman that I met in Nanaimo, and that Sherilyn Gray, I had been told a lot of things in Kelowna that simply were not true by former friends and associates of my sister and my mother. I couldn't hold a job. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that. So I started to believe these things as fact because of my piss poor low self esteem. And I ended up transferring feelings onto Cheryl of sort of a mother figure to an actual mother. And one thing came out of that relationship that probably shouldn't have happened. And somebody was pissed off that I had decided to go to her and they were going to lose control of that particular situation. But I'm not lazy. I've never been lazy, and I'm extremely intelligent. Extremely, and I don't give a fuck if that makes me sound like the most arrogant little cocksucker in the whole wide world. Don't care. I can prove it and I can back it up. I worked at Highland Security for 8 years. Jonas Klippenstein will verify that. I worked at Crown Security for about 6 years. Doug loved my work. He never had a problem with me. He used to call me out 2 or 3 times a night. I worked for All Right Security. Mike loved my work. I've had my little downs and whatnot when it comes to employment. I worked for Gotcha's nightclub in Kelowna. They loved my work. They never had a problem with me. I was a little timid at first, being honest, but they loved my work. I worked for Liquid Zoo, Clem. Never had a problem with me. I always showed up for work on time. See, my biggest problem was I didn't want to get shot for $12 an hour. And guys had started to bring guns into that club, so I figured, you know what? No thanks. I'm not dying so strippers can get up and shake their ass. But I'll tell you one thing right now. I worked when I was on the street after not eating for 4 days. I worked at the labor place after I worked a 12-hour shift at night. I worked 3 jobs during the day before. I burnt out before. That was the thing. And I needed a break. I didn't bank on what was about to happen next because a lot of this little hiatus that I took had to do with me going to school and bettering myself. And I had piss poor low self-esteem because I didn't have very good people in my corner. But years before that, even my brother-in-law was like, bro, you should get into computers. Bro, you should get into this. Bro, you should get into that. I used to be on like 8 different medications. The thing that turned the tide where that was concerned is my brother-in-law came up to me and said, hey, Pam, dinner's on. And that's my mother. And she used to be on a shit ton of drugs too. And the point that he was trying to make with that is that, you know, dude, like, you don't need to be on all that crap. Like, I know you very well. You don't, like, I've known you all your life. And you don't need to be on all that shit. So I went to the doctor and had that changed. And you know what? He has been a real sort of stalwart in my life for a number of years. Maria and Trevor actually drove to Capri Mall one night and parked under the parkade there and came out and got me in the truck and were like, you know what? You need to get on to something better in your life, because security, for the most part, is for old people and people that are just starting out. It's never been a good wage. My first security wage, $8.25 an hour. And I'm about to attempt right now and get a bachelor's degree. And going a little off that subject, so just bear with me here. And I didn't even think that was possible before. I thought maybe I could scratch the surface of a community college, maybe, but I never thought this was possible. And finishing up that bachelor's degree in psychology, I never thought any of this was even remotely feasible. because I've been labeled so often in most of my life that I just started to swallow it and say yes, sir, and was very just whatever. I'm a piece of shit. Leave me alone. But I am not now, nor that have I ever been lazy. And it's not that she did some things that were not very good, but it's not that she fucked. She worked with what I told her, which was what I had been told in Kelowna, and I was in such a fucked up state that, yeah. And by the time we had progressed through things, she knew that what I had told her wasn't true, but it was way, way, way too late. And I do care about her, and I do have feelings for her, but this is not so easy or so simple to digest. When I left Kelowna to go to Nanaimo the first time, there was a lot of mixed emotions. And I didn't have control over my emotions because I wasn't able to regulate them because they weren't mine to control for a number of years. And the only way the whole education thing was going to be allowed to happen is if I was me and who I really was as a person. And a lot of this had to do with my aunt's interference. And a lot of this had to do with healing the damage that she had done to begin with. In the face of you show your mother and father in a divorce because you're straight up with one parent and you're not so straight up with another. And the problem was I wasn't able to be me for such an extreme amount of time that there was some damage that had to be done that had to be undone. And it's kind of like that scene in Misery where she breaks his leg and then gets sick and tired of him whining, so she heals him again. Y'all ever seen that movie, Disturbing Behavior? When they implant the chips in those kids to get them act all right and good and proper and everything else. Well, there is really such a thing called mind control. You should look up McCulture, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying that it happened here. But what I am saying is, whenever my aunt used to call me, she used to be the only voice in the room. And it's almost like I was in some kind of a weird, fucked up state. And Ray, you still haven't basically told me why I ended up going to a hypnotherapist when I was a kid. Just questions I figured I needed to ask. And I remember all of our childhood, Ray. And like Trevor said, you got traumatized too, and mostly you got traumatized because mom spoiled your ass and ended up turning you into the lovely little woman you see today. And I wasn't the one that spoiled. I am actually the one that ended up staying at home and basically being called a whole bunch of names. And I guess some of that shit is true on Facebook. Being the family scapegoat. And being kept really low. Because I get this distinct impression that I think that back then they knew that I had some potential. The teachers were phoning and saying, you know, he's reading, he's doing this, and he's doing that, and he's angry. And every kid is angry when their parents get divorced. Every kid is angry when there's shit going on at home. Every kid's angry and attention seeking because he's not getting what he needs to get at home, or she, so he needs to go out and get it somewhere. And you can also traumatize a kid if when you were a child you're not getting what you need from your primary caregiver. And both of my caregivers were absentee landlords, and I did the best I could on my own. When that divorce happened, he said he was you're the man of the house now, son. And she basically said, you know what, just do what you got to do and don't bother me. She never said that, but she did her own thing, and I did my own thing. She only felt like actually enforcing the rules when, Friday, Monday, and every second Tuesday. But I did the laundry. I cleaned up the house after she passed out, fucking all drugged out and shit. I did her clothes. I did my clothes in the apartment, in the condo. And yeah. And has anybody ever considered that when I was a teenager, I was basically a shut-in. My mother was my absolute best friend ever, and I never really had any social skills because I never went out with any woman or hung out with any dudes my age. I was completely awkward and learned everything I learned about socialization, about hanging out with people my own age, about how to act in social circles through movies. And I never really got any self-confidence until I started bouncing, but even then it was minimal, right? And hey, I got another big news flash for you. I smoked over a fucking eighth of pot a day before, and drank a 2.6 a day. So you probably shouldn't be judging me on what used to come out of my fucking the hole in my face being the fact that that probably wasn't actually the me that I wanted to portray or the me that I needed to portray or the actual me, as much as it was an inebriated me. Because there's a certain somebody that can tell you that they used to take in enough liquor bottles from me, at least for a while anyway. They could basically fucking go out for a really nice meal on those liquor bottles and whatnot. So, there you go. Anyway, you have a good day, YouTubers, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.